150 miles on my boosted board in the first week. What up, YouTube? It's your boy Jermaine, back with another video, and in this video I'm going to talk about this thing here, my boosted board V2, and I've already put 150 miles in this thing, and I've only owned it less than a week. So let's get this video started. So straight off the bat, guys, I've owned this thing for a week. If you've been following my vlogs on YouTube, if you're new to my channel, I make daily videos, and guys, this thing has changed my life. Bottom line. When I first opened it out of the box, I thought to myself, what did I just pay $1,300 for, you know? And then after owning this thing for 1 week, I'm already thinking about buying the second boosted board just in case this one breaks down and I have to like send it back to warranty, or just in case it gets stolen, or just in case I want to charge one while I'm out riding the other one. Man, this thing is so much fun to ride on. Now, before this boosted board, I would get around the city. Either I would rent a car or I would use my electric bike majority of the time. One awesome thing about the electric bike, I have a rack on the front so I can take my backpack off and put it on the front of the bike. And it's an electric bike, like I can sit back and chill. But since I've got this thing, I've almost forgot about my electric bike, because one thing about owning an electric bike versus a boosted board, or just a bike in general, you just can't pick a bike up and bring it into a building like you can a boosted board. Like, I can just pick this thing up and jump on the bus. I can pick this thing up and just walk right into like a business. With a bike, I have to look for a spot to lock it up. I have to, you know, make sure it's okay because I freaking live in San Francisco, and you guys know how bike theft is around here. It's crazy. Now, back to the boosted board, because I'm all talking about bikes and stuff now. I mean, I really don't know what to say. Just getting through traffic, there's been so many instances where I see bikers stop because they can't get through. And I know for sure that the light is not going to change, and I know I have enough time to, you know, skip past these two cars in a really, really tight spot. It's really fun, actually, by the way. And you're just squeezing through the cars, or you're just squeezing through like a whole bunch of traffic, and you're right at the front of the line, and you take off before the front car, and then you're halfway down the street. When you see the bikers back behind you, they're way back there. When it comes to hills, it's crazy. Like, when I'm on certain hills, I will literally leave every single biker behind me. Like, every single one. There's this one hill on Market Street. Once you're like, you know, cycling or boosting or however you get to that hill, like, you get to this hill, the light's always red, and then the light turns green, and man, as soon as the light turns green, I'm like halfway up that hill, and as soon as I get halfway up the hill, I turn around and I'm looking at the bikers, and they're back there, but they're way back there. Like, if I wanted to, I could pull over and wait and then still take off again, and the bikers would not even be nowhere near me, because with this thing, I can just get straight up the hill. Now, let's talk about the speed and some of the modes. Now, in the expert mode, you get less range. You can only go 5.5 miles, versus if you're in the beginner mode, you can go 7.7 miles. However, in the beginner mode, you can only go up to 12 miles an hour. In the expert mode, the fastest you can go up is 20 miles an hour. The mode I'm in is the Eco mode, the one in between the two, which on a full charge, I can get 6.6 miles, and I can travel up to 16 miles an hour. Now, let's talk about the Eco mode for a second, because I've been in Eco mode quite a bit. Now, it says I can get 6.6 miles. Now, this number can really, really vary, by the way. It can really vary if you are boosting on a flat surface or a bumpy surface. Now, let me give you guys an example. So some streets in the city are like hella bumpy, okay? Hella bumpy. Like, I'm not talking about the type of streets with just a lot of potholes in the streets, because there's a bunch of those streets too, but I'm talking about just a normal, natural, bumpy street. You're gonna have less range on streets like that. However, if you're on like a really, really, really smooth surface, like in the financial district in front of some of these buildings that have like this marble and it's just like super, super smooth. Like, when you're on surfaces like that, like super smooth, you're gonna use way less battery, and it's also gonna be a much smoother ride on your feet, because if you're on a bumpy surface, you're gonna feel that, you know, all that vibration on your feet. But when you're on some smooth surface, it feels hella good, and it's really easy to control the board. You know, it's just like super easy. Now, however, I never said you could not ride on rocky surfaces, and oh, let's talk about that, okay? Riding over things in the street. I've never been so surprised until I bought this. So the first day I'm out on the board, right here in San Francisco on Market Street, we have all these trolley tracks, and they're not really big, but if you're on a bicycle with skinny tires, and if you ride the wrong way, you can actually fall off your bike because the wheels will get caught in the tracks and you can come flying. I saw what happened a few weeks ago. This girl was making like a right turn and she turned and her wheels got caught in the tracks. Now another thing about those tracks is if you're on a normal skateboard and you're riding over it, those tracks could stop you and you could crash on the ground in the middle of the street. You wouldn't want that to happen, especially if there's cars behind you and there's traffic and that sort of thing. However, on the boosted board, I was actually stunned to discover like how this thing handles like in the street. Some of these trolley tracks, the board just goes over completely. Like it's not a problem at all, especially if you're going like 10 miles an hour. Now if you're trying to do it at like 2 miles an hour, you might have a problem. I'm not saying you're gonna fly off the board. I mean, come on, you're only going 2 miles an hour, so if you do fly off the board, you should land on your feet. Otherwise, you probably should not be on a skateboard. But for the most part, like, it's really easy to go over bumps. The board can take those bumps. However, I've kind of started to remember those streets, and now I know to avoid those streets, or yeah, there's a big pothole, or on this path, I'm gonna have to dodge this and that. Yeah, after a while, I kind of remember the streets, especially here on Market Street. Like, I can just think in my head right now, like certain intersections and certain bumps in the street. On some streets, the sidewalk goes up like an inch, and then on other spots, the sidewalk goes down, and it's really important to know, and I've been memorizing that quite a bit. Now, if you're on a bike trail, and I'm not talking about like a bike trail like in the middle of the street, I'm talking about like a dedicated bike trail, like if you're like on an actual bike trail, like a bike trail along the beach or something like that. Oh man, this thing is so much fun. You can really just go fast as you want, because now you don't really have to worry about cars hitting you, and if you don't see anyone around, you can pretty much go as fast as you want, or at least 20 miles an hour. I will test out expert mode more. Expert mode really comes into handy when I'm trying to get up a big hill. If you're familiar with San Francisco, you know what the hills are like in the city. The hills are like crazy. In beginner mode, I remember trying to go up a hill, it didn't work at all. The first day I was using beginner mode, just trying to get the hang of things and just trying to get used to the board, trying to get used to the controller in my hand and figuring out the dials. That's a whole nother topic too. This controller here, This controller, that's something else to talk about. Now the first day I was using this controller, I did make this mistake a couple times where I thought I was going forward, but then I'd make it go backwards, and that's a mistake that you really don't want to make. It can really knock you off your game. But it's pretty easy to use for the most part. You just engage the trigger, and then if you want to go forward, you just go forward. You want to go back, you just go back. Now there is no brake on the boosted board, it's only reverse and it's forward. So those are your two options. So when you're trying to brake, when you're on a really big hill, oh man, this thing brakes like crazy on hills, like crazy in a good way. Like, I'm just so surprised how this thing handles on hills. This thing can make it up a lot of hills, and more importantly, it can make it down hills. Like, what do I mean by this thing can make it downhill? For example, you know how you're walking down a big hill and you're walking down the hill and the hill is basically pushing you. So you're walking faster and faster and you get to the bottom of the hill and you catch your breath. You're like, because you just walked down a really big hill. On the boosted board, you know what you do? You engage the trigger, you hold the reverse slowly, and you can slowly guide yourself down that hill. As you're doing that, the battery is charging. How crazy is that? So the second day I was riding this boosted board, I went to a job, and this was like, like I said, the second day I wasn't that used to it. I probably did not take the most efficient route to get to this job. So I'm out boosting. I get to this job. As I arrive to this job, I discover, dude, there's like 5 massive hills. So I make it up all these hills, right? It's like 5 blocks, and it's like a hill each block, that sort of deal. I get there, the battery is at 13%, and I'm thinking, I'm not gonna have enough juice to make it back downtown. This really sucks. Like, this is day 2, and I'm gonna have to like carry this thing and get on the bus, because I had already left that gig and I had discovered that the board had 13% battery as I was leaving that job, so I couldn't like charge the board. Otherwise, I really should have just charged the board right as I arrived. But however, I did not charge the board when I arrived. So what do? I get on the board and I'm coasting down the hill. And then I remember, hey, boosted boards have that whole technology just like hybrid cars. You step on the brake, it charges the battery. So I'm on the board, I have my helmet on, by the way, because I recommend that if you do ride a boosted board, wear a helmet. Please, just wear one. Just wear one. It's very important. So I'm on the board, I have my helmet on, got the controller in this hand, and I have the phone in this hand. And on this hand, I have the Boosted Board app. Now the Boosted Board app gives you all the data about your boosted board. The Boosted Board app's pretty cool. It keeps up with your mileage and stuff like that, what modes you're in. Now there is a way to change the modes on the remote, but I would rather just change the modes using the app. It's so much easier than changing the modes on the remote. You just you press this button on like 3 times and you wait for 2 or 3 beeps or 1 beep or 3 beeps, and you can do it that way. There's tons of videos on YouTube talking about that. I'll put one right up above right here. And you download the app. The app's really cool. The app shows you, you're at, right now the app is telling me this. It's telling me my board's at 99%. I have 6.5 miles to go, and I'm at 150.8 miles on the board. Wow, this thing is so awesome to ride on. Phone's dying out. So far, what do I think of this thing? Like I say, I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, there are a lot of skateboards out there on the market. Boosted board is one of the most expensive ones. It's like very trendy, and that probably has one reason to do with why I wanted it so much. Boosted board is the only electric skateboard you can actually say, let's go boost, because if you have another skateboard, you really can't say, let's go boost, because it's not a boosted board. Unlike a drone, you can have any drone and you can use the whole phrase, let's go drone it. But you kind of have to have a boosted board to say, yo, let's go boost, let's go boost. However, there are so many more skateboards out there. I really, really like the boosted board. I really like the setup. I mean, it doesn't have the best range. There are definitely skateboards out there where you can get like 20 miles per charge. And there's some skateboards out there that might be a little bit lighter or they might be a little bit different. But for me, I just like the boosted board. I like the way it looks. I love these wheels. I love these huge orange wheels, and one cool thing about these wheels is they don't really get dirty. They're a little dirty now, but I've noticed I've ran over certain stuff in the street and it would stay on the wheel, but then after it would just disappear after a while. And they're a little dirty right now, but they don't really get that dirty, which is kind of cool. I guess I should show you guys underneath, because there's a lot of cool things underneath this thing after, a week of riding or 150 miles. So this is the bottom piece here. And as you guys can see, this whole area here is pretty banged up. It's from hitting stuff on the street and stuff like that. You can replace these easily on the boosted board. They cost, I think, $10 each you can replace. Now the next thing that I will have to replace on this board very, very soon, I've actually already ordered the part off of Amazon, are these belts here. These belts typically break. I've learned that by slamming on the brakes, it could, weaken the belts faster. So that's one thing you might want to avoid if you have a boosted board. Try not to just slam on the brakes like crazy all the time, or slam on reverse, if I should say it better. I always like to check the belts and make sure they're not really cracking, and you kind of want to look at it and make sure it's clean and stuff like that, because you don't want dirt and stuff to get in between the belts and all that and get caught up in there. So every once in a while you want to blow it off, clean it off, that sort of thing. Yeah, but for the most part, this thing is a lot of fun to ride. I'll show you guys this bottom piece here. It's not really scratched up because this part doesn't really get scratched up. It's so weird, every skateboard I've ever owned, I've had the trucks destroyed, but this truck is perfect because this is not a skateboard that you want to really grind on, or I don't want to grind on it. It's not like a trickster skateboard. It's an electric skateboard. It's an electric skateboard with a controller, and you should always wear a helmet when you're riding an electric skateboard. But this thing is a whole lot of fun to ride. It's so much fun to ride. Today I've been out on it quite a bit, just running errands and picking up things and just going places pretty close. I mean, I could easily walk, but if I walk, it would probably take me like 20 minutes, and I could get there in like 4 minutes on this thing. And another reason why this boosted board is so awesome, if I had a car right now and I wanted to park in this neighborhood, it would cost me like $3 an hour to park. But with this thing, I could put this in the trunk of my car, could park my car about maybe a 20-minute walk away, and then I can open up my trunk, pull the boosted board out of my car, and boost here. I mean, that way I don't have to pay for parking. And let's say I was going to be here for 3 hours. 3 hours, I just saved $9 on parking using the boosted board. So after a while, it will pay for itself. Like, I love this thing. I love it. Like, it has changed my life. It's so much fun to ride, and it's almost like a car for the most part. But anyway, if you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this from me, hit that subscribe button, and thanks a lot for watching. Peace out, yo.